In fantasy or mythological literature, readers frequently engage with visible souls. This is terminology coined by C.S. Lewis to describe characters which, in his words, have their insides on the outside. The appearances of these beings reveal the moral qualities of their souls. The goblins in George MacDonald's The Princess and the Goblin, a source of inspiration for J.R.R. Tolkien's goblins in The Hobbit, are visible souls. Originally, this race of beings started out like ordinary humans, living above ground and looking very much like you and I. However, for some unknown reason they had fled to live under the mountains, never leaving their dark abodes except at night. Over time, these people grew stunted and misshapen in body. They had eyes like perpendicular eggs, mouths no bigger than buttonholes, which, when laughing, stretched from ear to ear, those being in the middle of their cheeks. Their dark living also increased their intelligence, but with such cunning they grew in mischief, and their great delight was in every way they could think of to annoy the people who lived in the open air, tormenting them at every opportunity. Bitterness, malice, and cruelty had defaced the moral character of these creatures, and their appearances reflect their decrepit and hideous personalities. Their souls are visible. How they look reveals who they are. Dwarves in The Lord of the Rings are a similar kind of character. In the main, they are hardy, proud, abrasive, stubborn, stout, loyal, and foolhardy folk. Their short but muscled and broad bodies, with big bearded faces, resemble Viking warriors and gods such as Thor, who are thought commonly in popular literature to possess similar characteristics. Likewise, animals in the Chronicles of Narnia are visible souls. Aslan's bravery, power, glory, and nobility are manifest in his being a lion, while the beavers are lovers of domestic peace, perhaps even too sheltered, in their dams. The visible soul, then, is an effective literary device used to convey to the reader a lot of information about a character through their appearance, which is particularly helpful in fantasy epics dealing with a wide range of characters and species. Fundamentally, its efficacy relies on an idea that thinkers such as Novalis and Carlyle, important influences on MacDonald, put forward: that matter is the manifestation of spirit, that the body reveals the soul. To some extent, visible souls are a feature of the real world too. Take clothing. What we wear tells others a lot about who we are. A woman wearing a hijab communicates that she is a devout Muslim. A man wearing a dog collar conveys that he is a Christian vicar. A group wearing blue rosettes display that they are Conservative Party activists. Yet clothing expresses more than group allegiance. What we wear, the way we fashion our bodies and hair, all manifest our personalities. Extreme forms are seen in goths, whose self-presentation suggests the subcultures they inhabit, the music they enjoy, even perhaps their emotional styles. But so too does ordinary clothing, and how well kept it is. Scruffy versus immaculate, ironed versus crumpled, sweater versus cardigan, long hair versus short. They all communicate something about who we are, how we see ourselves, what we think is important, and how we want others to see us. And indeed, when we see someone, their clothing can arouse in us a non-discursive impulse, a quick-fire feeling as to who they are and what they stand for. The same could be said as to whether a person is fit or overweight. It tells us how they care for their body and their powers of self-control. Such ideas are also present in studies of physiognomy, attempts to draw conclusions about a person's moral character due to their facial and physical features. And we can see current movements in academia and popular culture as attempting to divorce this idea that one's appearance conveys your inner soul. Cultures may also have visible souls. Often, the brutalist buildings of the 20th century are seen as physical manifestations of the aridity of modernity. Similarly, the degradation of the melody in popular music of recent years is presented as the sonic dimension of the West's decline. By contrast, Shakespeare's plays reveal the dynamic creativity of Golden Age England. The pyramids of Giza manifest the splendour and brilliance of the Egyptians. Beethoven's Ninth puts forth the ambition and confidence of the European Enlightenment. A culture's art, music, literature, theatre, dance, architecture, sport, politics, religion, myths, rhetoric, philosophy, and science reveal its moral character. However, it is prudent to remain cautious when judging a book by its cover. Not all souls are visible to the naked eye. Some characters deliberately hide who they are. Think of Gandalf. He initially appears to the hobbits as a wizened, somewhat grumpy old man who pulls off splendid firework displays. In reality, he is an angelic being sent to lead the resistance against Sauron. His power would overwhelm them. For more malicious reasons, Satan is described by the Apostle Paul as masquerading as an angel of light, misleading people into thinking they are doing good when in fact their behaviour is evil. Alternatively, sometimes creatures defy their appearances. The mouse Reepicheep in the Chronicles of Narnia is incredibly brave. The Wizard of Oz features a cowardly lion. Quasimodo, the Hunchback of Notre Dame, is kind and ends up a hero. This is just as true in real life. How things appear to us may not tell us about their essential nature. Often people call that which appeals to their tastes beautiful, but in reality it is evil, ugly, and disgusting. Just because a pretty face gives us pleasure, a TV show appeals to our political sensibilities, or a song makes us feel good, does not mean that they are good, true, or beautiful. It only means that we like them. At the same time, what we find repulsive is not always ugly. What we dislike may in fact be noble, pure, and beneficial, and the problem is with our own stunted souls. As the first verse of Bilbo's The Riddle of Strider, all that is gold does not glitter. Not all those who wander are lost. The old that is strong does not wither. Deep roots are not reached by the frost. If the appearance of a person is not an entirely reliable guide to their soul, their behaviour may reveal their moral character. The Scottish churchman Thomas Chalmers was typical of the Western Christian tradition when he argued that the way we behave is in accordance with what we love. We love that which we desire and honour most, that which we seek to attain as an end in itself, not instrumentally. Such a goal drives our actions. We do certain things in an effort to gain that which we love. Thus, what we do can reveal what it is that we love, what we value as an end in itself. Thomas Carlyle, an admirer of Chalmers, held something similar. In his view, a person's religion is their deeply felt sense of the world's fundamental character, and this is that which stirs their thoughts and actions. Thus, while an individual may profess that they are a Christian, Muslim, Hindu, and so on, their behaviour reveals their true religion, their sincere feelings about the nature of reality, whether they really feel that there is a God. The 16th century Roman Catholic Teresa of Avila suggested that mystical experiences are only genuine if they propel their subject to love God and love their neighbour, and as such one can judge whether a person has had a genuine experience of God through their actions. Behaviour, then, has been interpreted as a window into the soul, a manifestation of who we are in the concrete world. Indeed, a society's moral status can be judged according to how its members treat one another and strangers. Yet, actions can also be ambiguous. There are those who act deceptively, presenting themselves in one way to convince others they are something they are not, such as a spy. Beyond lying, there are interesting cases surrounding the conflict between the intention behind and the appearance of a set of behaviours. In 17th century India, a young Italian Jesuit named Robert Nobili was stationed in the bustling city of Madurai. Far from Portuguese influence, he believed that the most recondite missionary strategy was to convince local Brahmins, the highest caste group, to become Roman Catholics. However, prior to Nobili, this approach had failed because the local Jesuits had been trying to make the Brahmins essentially Portuguese in their culture. Nobili took a different approach, using the method known as accommodationism. He wore the distinct dress of a Brahmin. He wore an ochre robe with a punnal, the sacred thread, shaved his head apart from a tuft of hair called the kadumi, painted on his forehead and arms tilaka, sandalwood paste, while carrying a staff and a water pot. Moreover, he engaged 2 times a day in ritual ablutions, followed a vegetarian diet, and refused to engage with those of lower castes. Describing himself as a Roman Brahmin, Nobili was able to engage with local Brahmins and share with them the gospel. In so doing, he attempted to create a community not of Portuguese Christians, but of Roman Catholic Brahmins. That is, he accommodated Christianity to the norms of local culture. As such, his Brahmin followers were permitted to live like Brahmins after their conversions, wearing the dress and performing the acts associated with their caste. They were to worship in what Nobili called a kolvil, the Tamil word for temple, and it had the appearance of local ashrams. Inside, these Christian Brahmins sang hymns in Tamil set to indigenous tunes and participated in the Mass translated into their native languages. The catechism Nobili had written to teach the Brahmins doctrine translated key words and doctrines into language and concepts familiar to the converts. For example, Nobili chose the term Savesrara, one of the names of Vishnu, to name God. Finally, he allowed his converts to maintain separation from Christians belonging to lower castes. Nobili's detractors argued that Nobili and his Brahmin Catholics were practicing idolatry. They prayed in the names of foreign gods, worshipped in Hindu temples, and performed rituals honouring idols. Their actions were indiscernible from those of a Hindu Brahmin, and thus were of equivalent status, heretical. Nobili defended his approach by appealing to the Ignatian emphasis on loving God. The spiritual exercises emphasize that the ultimate end of life is to love God, and no thing should be done except in order to honour and serve the Lord. Nobili contended that he and the Brahmins performed these rites with the intention of loving the Christian God. Therefore, their behaviour is morally right, as the intention behind it is correct. The appearance of Brahmin Catholicism may not, to the Portuguese Christian, have revealed its morally worthy soul, but underneath it may have had a good intention. The literary device of the visible soul touches on issues in metaphysics, aesthetics, ethics, and epistemology. They empower our love of fantasy because they help to create the impression that these novels show us things as they really are. As Tolkien argued in his essay on fairy stories, stories like The Lord of the Rings aim to refresh our ability to perceive the world rightly, to break out beyond our narrow preconceptions and boxed-in thinking, to apprehend things in all their wildness and uncontrolled majesty. The visible soul helps to create this effect. That a character's appearance and actions can reveal their soul indicates to us the true nature of the beings within the story, providing a level of clarity that we often do not find in our own lives. And perhaps the situation facing us is not that there are no visible souls in reality. Our task, rather, is to reach the point where we can see people and things as they truly are. Think of Neo in the first Matrix movie. Before he is killed, he sees the world of the Matrix like anyone else. However, when he is brought back to life, his vision is changed. He now perceives the world in computer code, thereby understanding what things are at a fundamental level, and, therefore, can manipulate them according to his designs. Neo now sees things for what they are. How they appear to him is their spiritual or moral reality. Currently, we are like people looking at shadows on the wall, trying to assess their spiritual character. We need to leave, turn around, and see those things making shadows. This is the quest facing us all, to become a Neo and see the visible souls all around us.